Welcome to Austria and the second race of the day here in Hochfilzen for, of course, the women. It's the sprint event, their second sprint of the season, and a chance for Tora Berger to try and make it 4 wins out of 4 races for this year. An astonishing feat of hers up in Östersund to wipe the board, 3 wins out of 3. Still won't be the best if she manages that, because if you cast your mind back to 2006, 2007, Ole Einar Bjorndalen, 5 in a row. So still 2 big races for Berger. It's going to be a big ask today. The conditions are not easy here in Austria. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with the start. Sarah Studebaker of USA will be the first away. Welcome back. Well, here are the scenes in Hochfilzen, and let's have a look at the track. Mike, this is your job. Talk us around the tracks here in Hochfilzen.
First 800 metres, now coming up to 1 kilometre. It's too fast if they could ski that speed. I would say in terms of keeping the field together, we saw in the men's race it's very tight. There aren't many areas of difficult in terms of technical, so it closes the pack together. The strong athletes, as we saw in the men's field, Bernbacher and of course Fourcade, can take time out of the best of the rest. So maybe Tora Berger, the form she's on, could make it 4 in a row.
They can, but not quite as easily as perhaps on some of the harder tracks, say Ruhpolding or of course Antholz and Selva.
That's right, every course has its personality, and this range is more difficult than last week to come into in Östersund. So the shooting in the men's, we had 15 men shot the perfect score. I am surprised. It's difficult conditions today.
Well, that's exactly the same as last year, so we'll see how the women get on. Sarah Studebaker is the first away for the USA. Finished 15th in Contiolati last year with a clear shoot, so she's got a chance of top 15, maybe even top 10. Gontier of Italy, a youngster in the Italian team, only 21. And, of course, the Italians relying on Michela Ponza really to do something. She starts number 50.
Well, certainly what I've heard and seen from Gontier, she's a big talent. The Italians think that she is going to cut it in the big time. She didn't shoot well last weekend, missing 4 in this race, but has the potential for a top 20 today.
Lebedeva goes for Kazakhstan. Needs to be careful on the prone shoot. She missed 3 in the prone in Östersund in the sprint, and that put her out of contention. We saw some of the big names missing early on today as well, but the wind conditions here might changing by, not by the minute, but every sort of 10-15 minutes or so. The conditions in the range are different, and although they're not impossible, it's a question of being really alert to how the conditions are.
I think that sums it up. The athletes have been warned by their coaches. They've had their practice time on the range, and they need to watch the wind flags. It swirls around in this range. From the faraway point, it's from the right. Close to you, it's from the left, the wind.
Fialkova for Slovakia. Good positive start for her. Here's Miriam Gusner. Now, she's been dancing around for the last 5-10 minutes in the warm-up area. It's only -7, which is a little bit warmer than Östersund, but the cold here, Mike, there's a little bit more humidity in the air. It just feels a little bit damper, and you can certainly see the difference between here and Sweden, where they were quite comfortable with temperatures around -10, -11.
Well, that's right, and I seem to remember the last 2-3 years down here in Hochfilzen at this time of the year, it's been hovering around 0, -1, +1 during the day. So certainly the 2 first World Cups, air temperature much colder, but it does feel damp here.
And well, it has been snowing for the last couple of days, and whenever the World Cup comes here, the snow seems to arrive at the same time. It's uncanny. Within a couple of days of the World Cup, it arrives, and after the officials have been through all the effort of laying down the artificial snow, we get a dumping of natural stuff, which is great. Talking about the humidity, Mike, very damp here. Lots of heavy wet snow earlier on today. There's always a question in the range, because that surely forces the rounds down. And a lot of the coaches saying, just be aware, if it does start snowing, put the sights up.
Well, that is so true, and also the visibility when you've got a lot of heavy snowfall. Don't think we're going to see much of that today, but it changes to the foresight, and opening the rear sight certainly help in these poorer visibilities.
Studebaker out on the tracks as Sox of Hungary gets her challenge underway, starting number 7, and just time to let you know that we've got 106 starters. We have top athletes going in groups 2 and 3. None of them have really chosen to go in group 1, and the world #1 at the moment, Tora Berger, starts number 88. So this race is going to run all the way. A very small Group 4, and I can't see anyone in Group 4 who's going to challenge Mike, but one or two interesting. Be nice to see Bente Landheim of Norway, who starts last, and Badiga of Ukraine could do a top 10, top 15. Dorothy Vera of Italy, she certainly capable of top 20, but she'll have to shoot the perfect score to achieve that.
She will. It's Rosanna Crawford, her sister, preparing for sprint races over in Canada in the cross country.
Jenny Jonsson, the sister, of course, of Helena Ekholm, and she shoots pretty well. She doesn't ski quite like her sister used to, but still young, and it would be nice to see her step it up a level this year. I don't know how she's going to achieve that, but that's the coach's job, Mike, and all the hard work really has been done already with the summer months. So over the next couple of weeks, we should see what sort of level Jenny Jonsson is at.
It wasn't good, I think, in fairness, last weekend, with missing only 2 targets in the individual. She was 60th position. And looking at the sprint last weekend as well, the Swedish girls, the first placement was 40th position. We're so used to much better than that over the years.
Missing Wolfgang Pichler, perhaps. Dishma of Ukraine. Good solid start from her. Remember the women's race, just 7.5 kilometers, and so laps of 2.5k, which in normal conditions would take just over 6.5 minutes. Today snow's a little bit softer, it's a little bit slower. We may find the times are fractionally slower, but we'll keep an eye on it. Certainly the thinking in the men's race this morning, Mike, was that the early starters would press the snow down, the tracks would get skied in, and the conditions would get faster and faster. I think, in fairness, the snow did get faster, but the wind conditions became more unpredictable.
It certainly seemed that way. It certainly wasn't easy even early on for Christoph Suman when he came in to shoot for the first time. And it fluctuates. It really is luck of the draw. The coaches have to make their decisions based on what they see the days leading into the races. And there hasn't been any wind influence in training leading into today's races.
Fialkova up to the top of the biggest climb on this course. She's doing pretty well. Doesn't have much experience of World Cups. Not the most stable body position in the skiing now. Let's have a look at the wind. Left to right, just as it was this morning, but this is about as strong as it's been all day. And the short straw for Sarah Studebaker. Will she be able to read these conditions? Good luck to her left, and a change of the sights, but that was only 1, maximum 2 clicks.
Doesn't make much of a difference if you're just being delicate and changing by 1 click. You're only talking 2-3 millimeters. Adjustment of the fall of the shot. This looks disciplined. Studebaker not doing anything in a hurry.
Do you prefer the change of sights or aiming off?
It's to be honest, if it's a steady wind, in fact it's not a steady wind, of course, it's strong from the left, then it drops off, then I think aiming off is the best way, but you have to have a lot of experience of shooting in conditions like this, and the brain, it's almost like a guesstimation, subconscious adjustment you make in your aiming off.
750, the initial split for Studebaker, and with those 5 targets down, that's a really good start for her. Yeah, the problem with changing the sights, Mike, on a day like today is you can change them a bit for the first shoot and then get a little bit confused. More difficult on the pursuit or the longer races where there are 4 shoots involved. But we have seen athletes in the past get totally confused, can't remember which way they've changed them, and they've lost that initial 0. Whereas if you just aim off, you always keep that initial 0.
It's a very valid point, and I think we saw Brune, especially Brune, one of the best shot here in the women's field. She adjusted last week, first time in, and then she put her sight straight away back to the dead 0 that she knew.
A lot of variation on the rifle stocks this year. More custom designs coming in rather than the standard.
It certainly does make especially the stand position so much easier. You've just got this handhold which fits into your hand, your fingers pull down onto your hip, and it really does make it much more stable in the stand than it used to somewhat 8 years ago before these rifle changes came in.
Tyrolekov familiar name to biathlon, but Stian Eckhoff now retired from the men's world, and a pretty handy athlete he was too. I'm surprised more Norwegians don't change nationality, because it must be the hardest team to get into, along with the German women's team, which over the years, but they've had problems of their own with big retirements over the last 3 years. All the top names have now gone, and it is up to women like Dull and of course Bachmann, who has just started to try and claw Germany's way back to the top. The men are doing a fine job at the moment, and another good performance by the men in this morning's sprint event. Belova of Russia. She's fast, well placed in the World Cup standings after just 3 events this year, lying 11th, and her best finish was the opening race of the season, 6th position in the individual. Anastasia Kuzmina, she is the Olympic champion in this particular discipline. She'll keep that for at least another 14 months. Whether she will be able to retain her title, we'll have to wait and see. It would be a long shot. I think you'd get very good odds on that.
You would. The Olympics are special, aren't they? The athletes take them as their key point for the season, so there's less pressure. You can pick and choose your races. If Kuzmina does it right, she could take that title again.
Rosanna Crawford with a really intense stare down the range, looking at the wind, trying to read exactly what is going on. Watch to see if she changes the sights. No.
I think sensibly, under the end of the barrel, the foresight area, she's definitely added on some 250 mil extra weight. It just screws on underneath the foresight.
That's good solid shooting, very quick as well, and in tricky conditions. So the North Americans are on target so far. Gontier with the leading time of 7:39, but Crawford is about to push that mark down just a little bit. She'll be at least 15 seconds, 17 seconds the margin, and a really encouraging start for Rosanna Crawford. I hope Chandra is watching that one, and maybe that will inspire her to great things in the cross-country events coming up over the weekend. Gasparin of Switzerland as Miriam Gostner gets underway. So much promise before she hit the senior tour. Yet to be fulfilled, I think. She's got potential, there's no doubt about that. But Mike, it's all a question of learning to shoot consistently well.
That's the secret. We saw Gustner flying over the first of the rises. She's got the tempo, she's got the drive, the mindset to push herself hard. I don't think she can switch that off when she comes into the range. She's still in that mega race mode, and you need to change your thinking.
You think she's a large burger of the women's tour?
In a sense, yes. She's got the speed, but not able to just transfer into a completely different mode.
Good start from Eckhoff, looking very solid. Early days in this women's sprint, the second sprint of the season, and Rosanna Crawford leading the way for Canada. Kalinchik now on the mat for Belarus. Domracheva will be racing, and just looking to see exactly which bib number she's got. She's got number 54, Daria Domracheva.